In this video we will go over the Array tool in LusoCAD 2024, which allows us to easily distribute objects in specific ways, in relation to other objects in the drawing. There are three array types that we can use: rectangular array, polar array and path array. Let's go over the rectangular array first. Let's say we want to make an array of this table here and we want to have 8 of them arranged on 2 rows. We first have to select the array option in the Modify ribbon. Once we click the object, we can see that the ribbon expands to show all array options. The main sections are as such: type, columns, rows, levels, properties, and a button to close the array. We already know we want a rectangular array, so let's jump to the column settings. We want 8 tables ordered horizontally between 2 rows, so we will type 4 columns. We choose the desired distance between columns, in this case we will type 3000. Now it's time to set the rows, which we already decided will be 2 in total. Let's use the same distance between the rows. The level section refers to an array in 3 dimensions, but since we are working on the XY plane exclusively, we will not touch these settings. Finally, the associative button refers to whether the generated array is created as individual objects or grouped together. Let's say we want all tables to be grouped together, so we select the associative option. One thing to note is that if the associative option is not selected and each object is created independently, we will not be able to change the array options later. Now let's close the array to confirm the changes. We can see that the array was created successfully and all tables are treated as one object. For the sake of this example, let's say we now want to remove some of the tables. To do this, we must separate each table from the others, so we use the explode command. Now we can alter the tables individually. Next, let's see how the polar array works. The polar array will distribute elements along a circular object, such as this one. Let's imagine we are designing a garden, and we wish to distribute plants all along this circular shape. Well, let's do as we did previously, this time selecting polar array instead. Select the object in the center point of the array, which will be the center of the circle. And already we have created the array. We can select our desired rows and columns just as before. We can see in the Properties section a few new settings: rotate items and directions. Rotate items will be used for keeping individual rotations for each arranged object towards the center point, but if we want all objects to keep the same rotation, we can deselect this option. With the direction button we can choose between clockwise or counterclockwise creation of the array. Another way we can use the polar array is to arrange objects around a hemispherical shape, or a semicircle. Let's do it with this seat. The important distinction in this case is that we don't want the seats to be arranged on a 360 degrees all around the object. To do this, we have to reduce the angle in the fill field. We will go with 180. We quickly adjust the orientation to get the right placement, and set our desired columns and rows. Just as before, we will explode the array to delete these columns, finishing our design. To finish, we will quickly explain the path array, which will be very similar as the previous ones. This time, the array will follow a multilinear path, including straight and curved sections. We start the same way as before, clicking Path Array, selecting the object and the path we wish to array in relation to. Here we encounter different settings as before. The main difference is the type of distribution along the path. In the Measure button in the Properties section, we can choose between Divide and Measure. The Divide option will distribute the objects evenly along the path, which logically means we cannot change the Between field, since the distance between objects and total distance will both be automatic. Measure will in turn maintain the number of objects and let us change the distance between them. Finally, the Align button will align each item to be tangent to the path, and the Z direction button changes the position of the array in the Z plane relative to the path.